Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going, Dan?
I'm still here.
You shaved.
Yeah.
I think at this point, if I'd shave, people would lose their mind. It's almost part of me after the season and everything. So I don't know what I'm going to do. It's summertime. It might get a little bit annoying. But anyway, did you go out deer hunting any last few days of muzzleloader?
No, it's doe season, so I haven't been out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Just got a bunch of editing done, huh?
Yeah, I was editing video, editing the muzzleloader hunt.
When are you thinking that'll be up?
Hopefully tomorrow, but probably more likely in a few days. I got something coming up I got to do, so I don't know if I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, you're going on vacation, aren't you? Family get together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I did that yesterday with the in-laws. We had Christmas at my in-laws, so I got all that done, and we're back home. But if you guys are new to the channel, you just ask some questions in the comments, and we'll try to answer them at the end. This show, we're kind of going to finish up the last handful of questions on late season stuff that you guys asked on the Facebook forum. But we got to talk about our news story before we do that, and we kind of got a special guest for our news story.
So this is going to extend the news story from last week, right?
Yeah. Since our last show was just a few days ago, I figured we had some better intel on that story. It was the big buck in Minnesota that was stuck in the river, and
and you were actually able to get the fire chief on, who was there working on the rescue, right?
Yeah. We pulled some tight strings. We got the fire chief that was actually on scene there, and we'll just.
That's pretty cool. It'd be interesting to hear his take on how long the deer was in the water and
all that
how
stuff.
Big the deer usually are in that area and stuff like that.
Yeah, because there was like 100 questions about it last week. I mean, didn't know much about it other than the short article that was written about it. Yeah, it's a Chief Buyer. He's down here waiting on us to come in, so we'll just go ahead and add him. Hey, Chief.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
The bat, I want to just say thanks for all you do for everybody. Always like firefighters and police officers and stuff, and really appreciate all you do for the community.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of tell us about what actually happened that day and kind of how that morning went for you guys, because from where I understood, it was pretty early in the morning when you guys started getting calls about this deer in the river.
Yes. I was just coming off a shift. My shift was ending at 8 o'clock that morning, and it was about 10 to 8. Just took a phone call, and it was from a concerned citizen that said he witnessed a deer that was obviously had fallen through the ice and was struggling to get out. And he just said, he goes, I don't know if it's something that you guys can deal with or not. He goes, but I just wanted to let you know. And so I thanked him, and then I said, I said, I'm going to go down there and check it out. So I hopped in the pickup and drove down there and took a look at it. And there was already a couple people that had pulled over and were looking at the deer in the river too. And I just kind of assessed the situation and thought, he's in a spot that we can get to him. He appeared to be fairly played out. That was my other concern, because he had a huge rack on him, and I don't want anybody to get, hurt over trying to rescue a deer. And but he appeared to be fairly played out, so I felt fairly safe if we were to try to get him out of the ice. And we have equipment for this. We have ice rescue suits, and this is something we practice. Matter of fact, this happened on a Monday. Our annual ice rescue training was 2 days later in the river down behind the fire hall. We cut a big hole in the ice, and we train for that. So the timing was kind of ironic, but
you could have just punched your box. You got your training.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I kind of just I made the decision. I went back to the fire department, and we started calling guys in and getting a team together and getting the equipment ready, and just went down there and pulled them out. It was fairly simple, fairly straightforward. And one of the guys had a toe strap that we actually kind of lassoed his horns with, and pulled him up onto the ice shelf. Got him out of the water up onto the ice shelf and let him sit there for a minute, and he didn't do anything. So we grabbed him again and brought him up to the shoreline and up the bank right onto the edge of the woods. And I suppose there's a 3-4 foot embankment or something, and got him up there. And he just sat there for not very long, maybe a minute or two. And then he decided to get up, and he just walked away very, very slowly. So.
Yeah, this
is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that video that you're showing, that was a couple of our volunteers that had shown up before, while the equipment was on the way.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you can sell it. I mean, I don't know if you guys. I linked the article in the description, but you can. It was a giant. It was a big deer.
Yeah. Oh, he was huge. Yeah, I stood right next to him and took a picture of him, and yeah, he was big, and and that's what I'm saying. That was kind of our concern is, he's a wild animal, and you just don't know what they're gonna do. So
now, how there's a picture of him, or a better up close of how big he was. How immobile was he? Like, how long did he lay there like that, exhausted?
You know what? Once we got him to the wood line, not very long. I'm going to say just a minute or two, and he made his way to his feet. He was pretty wobbly, and then he didn't run off by any means. He just walked off real slow and disappeared into the woods.
Now I know a couple people that rescued deer caught in fences, and in both cases, the deer they rescued was found later dead. But this one was actually seen later alive, right?
Yeah, correct. There's footage, as I seen, it was probably like 2 days ago. Somebody posted footage of the same exact deer coming through their backyard, and you could visibly notice he had a little limp in his back leg. But he was alive, so that was a good thing.
You had to be excited to hear about that.
Oh, absolutely, because you don't know, and so I'm not a deer expert. I have no idea how long a deer can survive in the water like that. Nobody really knows how long he'd been in there. As of like just a few days ago, sorry, my pager's going off here, but it's just a test page. So as of a few days ago, I'd heard one report that somebody's seen him as early as 20 after 7 in the water. So, I don't know.
He had to been in there for a little while. I mean, they don't get that exhausted, right away.
Right.
Well, it sure would be a horrible way for it to go. It's glad you guys were around to pull it out.
Well, that's just it. Another quarter mile one way or the other, and maybe he wouldn't have got seen because the area that he was at was a pretty heavily trafficked area in the morning. That bridge leads right to a elementary school, so a lot of people coming and going across that bridge.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So how does a deer get that big? Is that like an area where nobody hunts?
Well, it's pretty much right on the edge of town. So, you know, if you were going to hunt it, I would assume that it would have to be with a bow. You know, it's too close to town to hunt with any type of a rifle or anything like that. And that's probably why he's maybe lived as long as he has.
Yeah, for sure. I was getting ready to ask the same question about the area that he was living in. It sounds like people must hunt though, because there's trail cameras and stuff around, you know.
Yeah. Yep. So he was kind of a legend a little bit before this even happened. There was pictures of him all over Facebook and different social media sites. You know, with people catching them on their trail cameras or on their video surveillance or things of that nature too. So he was kind of well known anyway, and he just happened to be the same one.
With all the cameras and stuff nowadays, there's no buck gets that big without people knowing about it anywhere.
Right. Yeah, he was impressive animal. Like I said, I stood right next to him and took a picture of him, and I was like, wow, he was pretty nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Chief Byer, we really appreciate you getting on and talking about it. And like Dan said, thanks for all you guys do over there. And you got anything you want to pitch or talk about before you head off?
No, I guess not so much. I just, you know, I appreciate all the people that have reached out to us and all the positive feedback we've gotten for, you know, rescuing this deer out of the river. And it's been a little overwhelming at times, but it's neat too. Yeah.
Which fire department you work for?
What's that?
What's the name of the fire department?
Oh, it'd be Thief River Falls Fire Department. We're in the northwest corner of Minnesota, home of the Arctic Cat snowmobiles and four-wheelers, and yeah. Awesome. What's kind of neat is we got 60 miles to the north of us, we have the Polaris plant.
Wow.
So, oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we appreciate it, Chief, and you have a good rest of your shift. Hopefully, it's a safe one.
Thanks for coming on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Appreciate
no
Thank
problem.
You.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
We appreciate it.
All right.
Well, that was cool having you on.
Yeah, that's looking at that video. I didn't really watch it beforehand, and I'm like, geez, when you re-see that thing laying there in the water, like, golly, it's a big deer.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
Yeah, I bet they weren't expecting that when they walked up to it to see that. Anyway, you guys ready to start the last session of the Q&As here? We probably won't go quite as long tonight just because it's a Sunday night. Everybody's had to get up for Monday morning. You guys can ask some questions in the comments too. We'll try to get to those. But all right, this is a question that I have gotten a whole bunch actually, just over the last year or so, and it got brought up on this. It's not really pertaining to late season, but it's hunting in general. They wanted to know our thoughts on killing a buck on public, sitting 20 yards or so off the fence line from the private. So the deer would be shot on public, but possibly run over on private. What are your thoughts on like the ethics of that?
Well, the ethics are fine. The morals are fine, in my opinion. Yeah. I think as a hunter, you have to worry about what that deer is going to do, and you have to think about what that deer is going to do after you shoot it. If you believe it's going to get on that guy's property, and you don't believe you're going to have access to retrieve that deer, I'd probably think about getting a little further off the line. But the public land, border to border, is yours to use. Yeah. Now, I'll tell you an interesting story, because there's a lot of arguments about that. Now, behind my place in Rome Marsh, I was hunting on a land border about 20 or 30 yards off of the border, where deer were coming out of the private land onto the public. The person who owned the land across from here, I don't know that they hunted, but the one adjacent to that land, and their land border was about 100 yards from me, they hunted. And they were out, and they watched the show. They would come on my website, and they saw me. I shot a deer, and they had a fit that I was hunting too close to their land border. and they went all over my media and complained about it, that it's unethical and unmoral to hunt that close to somebody's land border. What's interesting is they have stands right on the fence line. And I called them on that. I said, hey, you've got stands right on the fence line. So what's the difference? And they said, the difference is you're on public land, we're on private. We can hunt our private land however we want. You should stay on public land further away. I'm like, public land's my land. I own the public land. Every one of us does that hunts public land.
Yeah.
You're telling me I can't hunt my border next to yours, but you can? And they kept having a fit. And I just said, okay, you know what? Just going to make peace here, and I'll back off. And you know what? I won't hunt over there no more. Sorry. You can have it. So I don't think it was even a month later, I get a whole bunch of blown up comments about it again, that they're watching me and they saw that I'm hunting on an island that's, I don't know, about 800 yards, 900 yards from their land border. And that's too close. Yeah, that's when I said pound sand.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, basically, you can hunt public land from the line on in. Now, there's no ethics or morals that say you shouldn't. Now, ethically and morally, you have to decide inside of yourself, is that deer going to get back on that property? Because you're going to have to go over and ask for permission. They're going to ask where you hunted, that it got onto their property. And if you don't know those people, you don't know how it's going to be reacted. And I know where I live, it's probably a flip of a coin whether or not somebody lets you go retrieve a deer off of their property. Literally 50% of the people will tell me, no, you can't go get it. So I try to make sure it's not going to get over there. So I try to stay back far enough. In some cases, the way the deer are moving or something, sometimes it, you know, getting a little closer to that border or where you have a tree to hunt out of, it's imperative that you get close to the border. But in a lot of cases, I know that if I shoot a deer in that position, it's going to run back into the swamp, not up into the farmland, and it's going to stay on public. Because most of the time, I'd be hunting deer on public going towards the private.
Right.
And generally, they're going to run back where they came from. I don't see any problem with hunting any spot you want that's on public land. It's public land. It's your land. Hunt where you want.
Yep. Yeah, it's essentially if you want the headache of what the consequences could be of hunting right there, you know, whether you're right or wrong, it's still a pain in the butt whenever you have someone acting the way, you know, some people do.
Yeah, we could do a whole show on private land bullies.
Oh yeah, for sure. Luckily here in southern Indiana, it's a little bit different than up there. Most people are pretty nice, for lack of a better word. I mean, they don't, you know, if you shoot a deer that runs over the
Remember,
land,
that's the big thing I had for a comeback when I first hunted Indiana. I was shocked at how nice people were.
Yeah.
They're not nice here.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good question because it's something that every hunter, a public land hunter, has to deal with or think about, and and you know, some pieces of public, you know, some of them aren't big enough to really, you know, there's a chance that a deer anywhere you shoot could run on some private. So, yeah, if you're worried about it, you maybe just go in beforehand. Like if you plan on hunting somewhere, go ask beforehand, and then you can have a clear mind about it. You know, if it's something that you're, you know, really concerned about. So, all right.
The only thing is, I do think that somebody has a little more tendency to say no if you ask him beforehand and say, I don't want you going on my property, whether you shoot one or not, kind of thing.
Yeah, probably so.
Well, I shot one, it got onto your property. Anybody with morals and ethics is going to say, well, okay, you can go track it, or I'll, you know, like me on Dave's property. I got a neighbor who just keeps hunting right on the fence line. And it's their property. They can hunt there. But whenever they shoot one, they're afraid to ask. So they sneak onto the property and walk through the bedding areas and stuff. And like it ruined my gun season this year. I had a little bedding area there. I was holding up, waiting for these, you know, a certain buck that I knew was going to bed there. And when I went in there to hunt, I saw like 3 deer, and I was expecting to see like a dozen. And as it got lighter out, I could see tracks, and you look in there, here they tracked when there's string tracker going through the property, and it's like, okay. But if I knew that, I wouldn't have wasted my opening morning there.
Right.
I wouldn't have denied that they go track it. I don't like it because I've caught those guys several times trespassing and told them you have to ask before you access. So I don't like the fact that they just came on there. But if they asked me and they shot one, I'm not going to deny them.
Yeah.
But what I would do is I probably want to walk with them. I want to. I would say you're gonna have to wait till I get there. If I couldn't make it over there, I'd tell them go ahead.
Right.
But I want to know where they go. I want to know what they do on my property. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's
Yeah,
understandable, but I would never deny somebody to track a deer because they'll just shoot another one, and it's a waste of an animal.
Oh yeah.
But I think most people are like me in that regards. They don't necessarily want you on their property traipsing around, but they understand that animals run where they want, and you
Right.
shot one, they want you to get it and retrieve it.
Yeah. And I'm sure if you'd shoot one and it run over on theirs, you'd want them to do the same thing,
I did witness something pretty unique once. I saw now this isn't a shot deer, it's one that was hit by a car. But a car hit a deer in front of my mom's old house out in Menominee Falls, and it ran out into a field and died. And it was a pretty good sized buck. And I went down to look at it, and the police back in those days used to have to write you a slip to take the deer.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, we don't have that no more. But they were writing a slip up for this person to take the deer that hit it with their car, and their car had some significant damage. And the farmer came rolling down, and he said, "You can't write a slip for them to take that deer. That's my property. They'd have to trespass to get it. It's my deer." So the cop called the game warden. The game warden came out. Some more cops came out, and they all had a discussion about it. And what they told this farmer was, "Well, you can deny them permission to go get the deer. It's your property. You can do that, but you don't touch that deer either. If that deer gets touched, you don't have a permit for that deer, and you can't get a permit for that deer because this person was the one who hit it." And then when put under pressure, then the farmer backed down and gave it to the person that hit it. It's funny because if it was a doe, probably nobody would have had an argument about it, right? But,
right.
But it was interesting how the law worked. He couldn't touch that deer on his property. And the same thing, if you shot one in Wisconsin and it runs on somebody's property, they can't just claim it if they know you shot it. They'd have to say they shot it in order to claim it.
Right. Right.
Otherwise, they can't touch the deer.
Yeah. This tired redneck, he said that he's had a road allowance. He has a road allowance, and I've had guys hunt on a road allowance, and shoot into the private we have permission on. He said my buck and my crosshairs get shot while I was contemplating a shot. Yeah, that's stuff like that is what has probably made Wisconsin turn into like what Dan was saying. The landowners don't want people going on anymore, or even if you did shoot it because of stupid stuff like that. Yeah. You definitely don't want to be shooting over lines if you're on public and all, that's asking for trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference between hunting near a border and hunting near a border facing the private property, looking onto it.
Right.
We've had people over by Dave's that they're hunting the property line on the other side of it, but they've got a shooting line cut into our food plot on our property. Well, obviously they're shooting onto our property. I can't prove it, but what I can do is go put something there so that they can't see onto the property or something in the way. But
yeah,
it's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's not
ethical, not moral, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. All right. Something else we got asked a lot about, and this is the second question, is our thoughts on the second rut and how we would hunt it.
Well, I got a whole video coming on that. That's what I was editing today.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You want to elaborate on it, though?
Yeah, sure. So, second rut, if you think about it, they go through cycles. So the first rut in my area, and I think about your own area, is the last week of October, first week of November, kind of is when you get the most action. And it goes in monthly cycles, kind of. So the last week of November, first week of December, we start getting them fawns going into heat. and those that didn't get bred going into heat. And there's even like a third rut, like 30 days after that. So in my eyes, it never really ends when it starts. So about October 15th, they start showing rutting activity, and it goes all the way up until about mid-December when they start going into survival mode and they start dropping their antlers. Once they drop their antlers, it's because their testosterone level has dropped so much, and then they're not breeding. But before that, it's just pretty much continual rut. It's just a matter of it has its fluctuations. What I see with second rut is even when it gets intense, it's not as intense as the first rut because the bucks have been rutting. They've been running around. They've been chasing does. They've been breeding, and it's kind of like not as exciting, and they're kind of stressed out. And they kind of need a little food in them. They're getting kind of lean. If you shoot one and after rut, you notice how there ain't much fat. They're pretty lean.
Yeah.
So what I saw this year, we had really good daylight activity throughout the whole rutting sequence. It was an amazing year for that. Now, muzzleloader season, I hit that second rut pretty good. I had a group of fawns, doe fawns, well, with does and stuff too, bedding in a certain spot on Dave's farm and coming through an open area and then heading off to crop fields. And I had a spot I could kind of get into, kind of bulletproof on a south wind, and we had a lot of south winds, and circle in from up to a fence line and climb a tree. And the idea of that is they're not going to come across the fence. They're going horizontal to me. So I could get in there anytime there's a south wind and with the muzzleloader reach out and touch them. So I watched a lot of activity. And what would happen was the doe fawns would come out and the bucks would bed in areas around these doe fawns. When the doe fawns would come out, they'd move to them. And it was a pretty good time. I mean, I didn't see any midday chasing. I didn't see any cruising. I didn't see any of that stuff that you see early season. But what I did see was right at the edge of darkness, and right in the, in the morning and in the evening, right at the edge of darkness, the bucks would come to these fawns. And if you were lucky, they'd come out early enough if they were excited enough to give you a shot.
Yeah, some people swear by that second rut. I mean, there's certain guys that just love hunting that time of year because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a bad time to be in the woods, just like any other time of the year. All right.
Yeah, they're already starting to get on that bed food pattern.
Yeah.
Where they're really in a pattern. Where earlier in the year the pattern changes almost daily.
Right.
Like for a week straight, I had those doe fawns just doing the same thing, and then you could get a pattern going. So it was literally a better time and a better way to hunt than regular rut, because I was patterning certain bucks on this pattern. Where usually in rut, like early rut, bucks there a couple days and gone. Right.
Right. Well, I have this question up here. Sean asked us if is late season a good time to get permissions, and any change in strategies to do so.
Anytime's a good time to get permission. But
yeah, right.
I don't know that somebody wouldn't say yes. Early season would say yes. Late season, but I can tell you this: I can remember being on road trips, and one thing that worked for me well with getting permission would be to say that I'm not from here, and I'm just passing through, and I'm never coming back, and I ain't, I'm not getting on any deer. I'm seeing some deer on your property. I'm only going to be here a few days. It's late season. You guys are already done hunting. I'm just going to get in there for a couple days and I'll be gone. Is there any way I can get in there? That's gotten me permission in a couple times when you're kind of whiny like that. Nowadays, I just go in public and I hate asking permission, but that has worked for me back in the day.
Yep. I think with permissions, I think the people that are going to give you permission are going to give you permission anytime, and the people that don't they're not going to give you permission. They're deer hunters or whatever. And the funny thing is like a lot of farmers that own land that you're going to go ask, they don't freaking pay attention to when deer season is or when it's not and all that. They have a vague idea, but I don't think it's in the back of their mind all the time, like it is ours.
Well, I've had people say, I got somebody hunting there right now.
Sure, yeah, but I meant,
I might say nobody's in there right now. They only hunted early season. Go ahead. But
yeah,
you might do that. It might work, but I don't think it's going to be much better.
No, I think if they're going to give you permission, they're probably going to anyways. Now, I'm not telling you not to ask because I think you could still ask, but anyway, that's just my 2 cents, and I feel like I'm pretty good at getting permission places, but anyway, it doesn't hurt to ask. What at least they're going to say is no. All right. Anyway, let's go to question 3 here. Will deer gravitate toward red oaks if there is little to no snow on the ground, or is there usually a more preferred food source? I guess I wanted to just touch on like the red oaks and that kind of stuff.
It's probably a better question for you because the oaks over here are gone,
right,
before late season.
Oh yeah, if there are some oaks, if there's red oaks on the ground or chestnut oaks, they'll 100% be hitting them. Now, I think that they eventually still go out to crop fields and stuff to probably prefer that over, if there's a standing bean field somewhere or a freshly cut cornfield, they're gonna make their way to that late season. If we're specifically talking about that, but they definitely will hit red oaks and chestnut oaks also. Yeah. Do you have any other comments?
Hill country in late season that they go to the oaks first and then they move out to the crop stuff. It's like they staged their way.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. All right. Here's a pretty good question that I don't think anybody's ever asked before. If you're going to be upwind of a bedding next to a field, how far do you try to loop without your scent being blown that direction? 300 yards, 500 yards? That's kind of what he's asking. Like, how far away do you have to be?
Easy answer, as far as possible.
Yeah.
And, the answer to that would vary. And the reason why is deer have different tolerances. And they have different areas where they expect people. Like, I've got a spot where I walk upwind like 50 yards from buck bedding all the time, and they don't have any phase. They still come out the same and everything else as long as I just pass by, because it's a spot where people walk all the time. Look at when they bed alongside of a road. People walk up and down that road constantly, right? So if you go to a spot where people don't walk regularly, where they don't expect people, and you walk near a bedding area, then they're going to freak. So that distance varies. Because I think they can pretty much tell where you're at when they smell you. Now, there's one spot at Dave's farm where I like to hunt that's in the far corner. And I got to walk around a water system to get over there. And that means that if there's any kind of west wind, I got to have that west wind blow into the main bedding area. And I'm probably between 200 and 300, depending on exactly where they are bedded, yards from the beds. Maybe a little less, maybe 150 to 300 yards from the beds. And I have done it quite a few times where I've slipped through there. And what I do is I try to move as fast as possible and stay as far back as possible. And then when I get up to the top, I'm also thinking now, okay, the wind blew in there from the west, and I'm hunting to the south because I'm looping around, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it might have an effect on the deer coming to the south, as long as I didn't blow them out of there, right?
Right.
But I have had an occasion or two, whereas I'm slipping to my stand, I've had deer blow in the bedding area, but it's only happened like twice ever. Most of the time when I do that, the deer just come out like normal. I think the times I've gotten blown at, they caught me accessing my stand, and I think they really wouldn't have normally, but they're alert because they smelt me. Make sense?
Yeah.
So they smelt me go past, and now they're like looking for danger, and then they bust me. So if you do that, I think it's crucial that you're a little more careful in accessing where you're going to hunt. But they're going to be expecting the danger to be coming from where they smelt it, not from the side or around them, right?
Right. Yeah, they're probably not that. As long as they can't see you, they're not that smart to realize that you've walked around them or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I just try to go as far away from it as I can. If you're going to be blown into it.
I mean, that's all you can do.
Yeah, right. All right. This is next question is one that I bet I got asked a dozen times on that forum, Dan. So people wanted late season tips in the big woods.
Late season tips in the big woods.
Yep.
Thick and cutovers. That would be the big one. They're gonna gravitate to thick areas. Now, deer kind of to some degree migrate in bigger woods areas, and they will go to food sources. So they will go to areas that have clear cuts that have saplings in them for them to eat, and they will move to that as soon as it's cold and as soon as it's there's some snow on the ground. So that's what I would look for. I would look for thick cover near cutovers, or within cutovers. That'd be my biggest thing about big woods. And I wouldn't lock myself into one. I'd look at several. I'd keep moving, until I really got into some action.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't hunted a lot of big woods, but from what I've been told is like you can find, if you find the deer in the big woods, there's liable to be a whole bunch of them.
Right. They're gonna congregate around the food sources. So it's a matter of finding that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of times I assume in the big woods you almost always have snow this time of year. So if you're not finding sign, I probably wouldn't stop scouting until you do.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Next question here. Do we process our own deer?
Do you?
Oh, yeah. Yep. We have everything you would need to butcher deer we have, and we do all of our own. And
I think we're the opposite on that. No, I did when I was your age. When I was your age, I cut everything up myself, processed it all myself, packaged it all myself. And nowadays, I don't want to lose that time, and I've got plenty of money. So I just drop them off at the butcher shop and keep hunting or keep doing whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, growing up, when I was little, I was like a tradition in our family was my grandpa had bought out a butcher shop, had gone out of business or something, and he went to an auction and bought all their equipment essentially. And so I don't know, it's almost like a nostalgic thing for me.
Right. And it is for a lot of people. And for me too, I do think that is part of the hunt. But me personally, there's something morbid about cutting up the meat and then eating it. It's just gross.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My mom used to. I would kill deer and bring them home, and I'd be cutting them up, and I'd come in all bloody and you know, putting back straps on, and she'd be frying them, and it'd still be quivering in the pan.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. I would rather forget about cutting it up for a day or two and then eat it.
Yeah. Definitely not bad. He said, "Can we make a video on how to process?" Guys, I don't know if we actually can. I guess to give you like some context, like my Ohio buck that I shot and I showed packing that out. That thing got demonetized for a while because of that. So we had to really be careful about what kind of stuff
I think you might be able to, but you have to. It has to be like called it's a processing video, because I don't people cut processing videos. Now, like Meat Hunter, they cut up meat and eat it, but every time we show a piece of meat or
anything like that,
or packing a deer out or something, we get demonetized and we lose our income off of it. But what we could do is, if you want to do one special, you could do one on the Rumble channel.
Yeah, something like that would work. Yeah, I might do that.
Rumble wouldn't demonetize us.
Yeah. Maybe if I shoot another one this late season, I'll do a video of us processing it.
For those that don't know, too, both Josh and I have Rumble channels.
Yeah.
They don't make very much money off of them because everybody goes to YouTube. But we did that for people that want to take a stand against companies that
do what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being demonetized.
Yeah. Right. Nah, it is what it is. But yeah, everything's over there as well. It's
But I've thought too. I mean, there's some things too that I'd like to do that they won't let us.
yeah.
That you know, when I have more time, maybe during the summer, I'll do just on Rumble.
Yeah. Someone asked me to elaborate on an instance where you asked for some permissions. I don't know, guys. Like sometimes I think it's just because of where I live is why I get so much permissions. And like if you would drive, I shouldn't even say this, but like if you probably would drive down here and ask the same people I asked, they'd probably tell you the same answer that I get. You know, yes or go ahead or whatever. I think permissions is very spotty throughout the country. You know, I think. Like Dan said, up there, it seems like it's real hard to get permission on private, whereas down here, it's not that hard. You know, you're not going to get on some supreme property, you know, or anything like that, but just you know, small acreages or fields and this and that, I don't have too much problem getting access to. Now, something else I do is I worked in the agriculture industry before I started doing this full time, and got to know a lot of farmers from when I worked in the feed milling industry. So I had a kind of an in there with people because if you can find some like relationship that you can build, whether that be if you got some cows out back or something and be like, oh, I saw you got some cows. I'm a cow farmer too, or whatever the case may be. All that little things like that can help.
I think offering to do something for somebody is
yeah.
You know, you're asking for something.
Yeah.
So if you offer something, you know, farmers work a lot for a little. I mean, if you went to a farmer and you said, hey, I'm really looking for a place to hunt, and before you say no, I'm willing to come out here every other week for 4 hours and help you out, give you some time off, or I can help you with the feeding or whatever you need done.
Yeah.
You know, once every couple of weeks, and do that this summer if you'd allow me to hunt. I think that would go over way better than, hey man, can I come kill your deer? You know,
right. Right. Yep. No, that's a good point. And then also, if you say that though, you need to follow up on it. You know. But yeah,
actually do it.
right. Don't do that and just ghost them for the rest of the summer. You know.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. Someone asked for late season. Do you ever use snow camo?
Oh yeah, all the time. Because I hunt off the ground a lot in late season because I get busted out of trees a lot. So
yeah,
late season I'm on the ground a lot in snow camo. Yes.
Yep. I don't even own snow camo. I don't think.
I didn't used to. Carol bought me some. Just some
really?
cheap stuff that just goes over the top of what you're wearing.
Yeah.
I used to just put on a white T-shirt over my stuff and just get a really large white T-shirt. I used to wear a white hat, you know, and just blend in different ways. I mean, you don't have to buy white camo.
Right.
Things that are white, you could just cut a head hole in a bed sheet, really.
Yeah.
You could. I mean, just cut a hole.
Yeah, for sure.
For drawing. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. You can put up like a bed sheet as a blind and hunt behind it. You know what I mean? Just over the top of it. You don't have to have snow camo, but it does help.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the comments saying they love snow camo. Works real well. Someone asked also, Dan, if you know when the next batch of bee stands are going to be available to purchase.
I can ask that question a lot. I'm not sure. We've got them constantly being made. Honestly, Mario handles all of that. But we have them constantly being made, and we have stands constantly being processed, and we have batches that come in about once a month, so maybe twice a month. So I know he's done things to try and help people get stands, like $5 to secure a spot, things like that. But the best thing you can do is just get on the email list, and whenever something changes, you get an email, and then you'll be the first to know, or in the first group. And if you act on it right away, you should get a stand.
Yeah.
But I believe he's been doing $5 pre-sales, but I think even the pre-sales are booked up because he only wants to go out so far, so he doesn't have somebody angry at him if they have to wait too long.
Right.
But that's what I would do, is get on the email list.
Yep. We actually talked about having Mario on sometime soon again, just because he hasn't been on for a while.
Yeah.
Which would be good. Anyway, all right. Someone asked, how long do you typically set during late season?
Usually not long. Usually the last, a couple hours of the day. I don't usually go out in the mornings. Days are pretty short. Last couple hours, they usually move the last hour, but they usually move pretty good. A lot of times it's when it's really cold out, I might even knock that down to an hour because you just get too frigid to even shoot by the time they come out. So, like if it gets like 10 below zero or colder, sometimes I won't go out to the last minute and try to time getting to the stand perfect because you freeze up. You have a really hard time pulling a bow back or getting anything done.
Yeah.
Your late season, you're a little warmer down there, aren't you?
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it was 55 out today. I mean,
Yeah, well, we're not in what I would consider late season yet. We're kind of. It is late season, but I mean, it's not cold that gets the deer moving. Like rain today.
Yeah. Well, for one, our season doesn't go as long as your guys's. We're done at the beginning of January there, and then secondly, like it could be 60 degrees Christmas for us. Typically, we do get a cold day or two, but it'll just be that, and then it'll warm back up. If we get snow, we'll get a few inches here and there, and then the next day it's like 50 degrees and snow melts. So it's pretty rare to have a cold, snowy hunt for us. Now this year in November, we did have, for opening day of rifle, we did have snow on the ground for that, which is, I can't remember the last time that happened. But it's pretty cool for the guys that got to hunt there. I was in Ohio, but I know a lot of people heading in the snow that day. All right, let's see here. This was a good one, and this is the last question we have here. So if you guys have questions, keep asking them in the comments here. I see a couple other ones to get to. But someone wanted to have Dan look back at any specific bucks you've killed with a bow in late season and kind of tell us about them. And Dan, you can tell whatever one you want, but I had that one in my mind that you guys killed with Mario. I think Mario was hunting with you in the Conservancy. Mm-hmm. You killed that late in the year.
Yeah, that was actually in January, I believe. I think it was January 14th I shot that buck. That one, we cut that buck's tracks, and it had a huge track. I mean, that was one of the biggest, probably in the top 10 biggest tracks I ever saw. It was a real big track, and it was coming in and out of some areas, and me and Mario both kind of figured out where it was bedding, and we were kind of working on it. And in the Conservancy that we were in, you draw for spots, and I had one spot and he had another, and they were side by side, and the deer was kind of like bedding on the line. So he was going to hunt on one side and I was going to hunt on the other. And with his schedule, I didn't really even know he was out there the day that I went out there. But I was waiting for the right wind and stuff. And I went in there, and just based on the tracks coming out, I kind of figured the direction of travel he was going, and set up on him, and he came in and I killed him. It was pretty basic once we figured out where he was. But we were able to track that deer down and not spook him, because they have hiking trails back there that people walk, like nature lovers and tree huggers and stuff. And as long as we stayed on that trail, the deer never figured out that we were hunters, right? They're used to people being on there. So I was able to look at his tracks that way and see where they were coming on, coming off and stuff. And I had a pretty good guess where he was bedded, and I was right. And then set up based on that and killed him.
There you go. I've never killed a buck late season.
So that we have a video of that hunt up.
Yep.
So I think that video and the video before it, and the reason I say the video before it because the video before it leads into it. I think I shoot a doe on the video before it or something, but then we cut those tracks, and then I think we cut those tracks going in to get the doe or something. That's my memory's getting foggy. But we cut those tracks, and then I said, "Let's go get that buck." And then the next video, we killed it.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. And Mario almost killed a good buck on the same hunt.
Yeah.
They came out in a group because, like I said, in late season they group up a lot, and they were acting a little spooky. I don't know if they got a tinge of one of us or something. And the big buck veered off and went my way, and the rest of them were going around Mario and almost in his shooting lane when I shot mine, and I was unaware Mario was even there. And those bucks went by him, and then the big one ran after I shot and was running past him, and he had it in his sights, and he yelled to stop it, and it didn't stop, and he didn't shoot, but it ran right past him. So we almost got a double, which is common. I mean, those late season hunts, a lot of times, a lot of bucks come out. You know, if you're in a good area.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It's a good hunt. Go over the Hunting Beast if you can find it there. I may go back and look for it on the channel. I put it in the description of the video after we're done.
There's another one I shot back when our season used to end like on New Year's Day or whatever it was. It was 1992. I had a buck I was hunting on 11 pointer that was bedding up on this hill, and he would come down this hill, and he was bedding there on a consistent basis, and he was coming out real late, and I think he knew he was being hunted, and I'd kind of hop around and try and cut him off. And on the last day of the season, we had it was supposed to be like with the wind chills like 60 below if you're in the wind. There was advisories against not going to work and stuff. And And back in those days, I had a wooden limbed bow that was laminated, and I would take it in and out with me. And you can see where this is going, right? So the limbs are freezing up, and I didn't know nothing about that kind of stuff about limbs freezing. It's 1992.
Yeah.
So that buck came in and was going underneath me right at closing time. So it's literally the last couple minutes of the last day of the season. And when he was coming underneath me, I went to pull that bow back, and I couldn't pull it back. It was like locked from the cold. My muscles are locked, and the bow's heavier from the cold, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this deer's going to get away with it for me. So I yanked with all my might, and the bow made out this incredible creaking noise and cracking noise, and shards of ice were flying out of it. And that deer just like locked up, looked up at me like, what the heck? And I got that thing to full draw, and I shot, and the arrow came out like in slow motion because the bow had no power because the limbs were frozen.
Yeah.
And the arrow just barely hit it, and hit it like going kind of wobbly. And I got about 8 inches of penetration, but hit it right in the liver. And I ended up jumping that buck by tracking him too soon.
Yep.
And ended up having to follow him like 5 miles. I ended up getting him the next day. I found him, and I think we had to have him registered by 5 o'clock the day after season, something like that. And I got him to registration like in a nick of time.
Oh, that's funny. Look at this, Dan. Jerry Tucker said he heard a potential world record whitetail was shot in western Minnesota this morning. Speaking of world record whitetail, I have a correction for you. I got a call from Kevin at the Deer Hunter podcast this afternoon. He said, let Dan know that he does not believe that the Mitch Rumpala buck is the real world record.
Okay. I'm sorry, Kevin.
He was listening to the show.
You know what? I got a call from Kevin. That must have been what it was about, and I missed it, and I was going to call him back. Now I know.
I was out working.
I thought he said he believed it. I'm sorry.
No.
I apologize, Kevin.
He
should
has
know
a.
more sense than that.
I talked to him for a while today. He has a 4-part series on that buck that he did. I guess he interviewed like some of Mitch Rampala's old friends and a game warden in that area or something. I guess it's his 4 different separate podcasts he did with different people in that area or people that are close to that.
I knew he did a lot of research on it.
Oh man. Yeah. Sounds like it. Anyway, he was just laughing.
He doesn't believe in it. I apologize, Kevin.
No, he just wanted me to give you a hard time. I promised him I would. So, all right, let's look here. Give me 1 second here. Make sure there's no more questions at the end. All right, let's just look at these, Dan, real quick, because this is a guy that's new to Eli. He's new to public land. Said the area I hunt is a designated wilderness area. It's all mature big timber, no clear cuts, no clear cutting, thinning, controlled burns, etc. Where do you typically find deer in these scenarios?
Areas that are naturally thick. So I'd probably look at bottomland. I'd study your maps of the area for openings, especially river bottom openings, smaller, thicker areas where there's little swamps that are in there. If it's pretty much contiguous, the same type of terrain everywhere, I would look for the lowest elevations and the highest elevations, and your deer are going to be at one or the other.
There you go, Eli. All right. We've been on here for an hour. That's about how much I said I'd get on tonight. So everybody have a good rest of your week. We'll probably see you Thursday again. And yeah, good luck if you're going to go hunting this week. See everybody later.
Thanks, everybody.